people are on this train. This train's so full, nobody's leaving, but they just randomly popping in and out of existence. It's so much fun. I love that. It's like we have a personal transporter for people to zoom in and out. Hello, folks. Welcome back to Train Sim World, where we are currently playing the Great Western Express. This is the last official Journey Mode mission for Chapter 1 for the Network Turbo. This is 1P51 Hereford to London Paddington. The amount of AP score for this one is pretty high, so what we're going to do is we're going to, again, just like the last one, jumpstart ourselves out of the gate, and I'll explain why as we go along. This becomes very important to do first thing out. We're driving the Class 166 again with 3 cars, so let us get started. First thing we got to do is let's look at our timetable. First thing we're doing is we're stopping at location Slough, so let's go ahead and turn on the master key, put on the reverser to forward. We're going to go ahead and put the brakes on to throttle 3 for now, and the headlight controls are going to go to day mode. That's enough just to get our train moving. That's all we need right now. We go back here, our folks are already loaded in the train, so let's go ahead and give them some lights. We're going to turn on the train lighting for them back there, cab lighting for me here, and as for the safety system while our train's moving, we're going to go ahead and bump this up to throttle 7. That should be enough to get us to 40. Everything typically stays on normal up on the top, but just in case you want to make sure, just run through all of these dials here. Once you get the DSD, that's usually set to isolated, so switch that over to normal. DSD again is this foot pedal. And then the TPWSIS, that's actually the warning thing that will shut your train down when you're about to crash or do something really horribly dumb and stupid. So that's important to turn that on. And normally the vigilance is already on, and then emergency brake supply is already on. Vigilance, by the way, is right here. The vigilance happens to be that little ding you hear all the time. The AWS fuse is the one that sets off the alerter. Again, the alerter button is right here. The only other thing we got to do is turn on our reading light, because I love the light that fails me, and I love turning it on just for the heck of it. We're heading to Slough as our first stop. We have to be there by 15:12 or 3:12 according to the time there. All we have to do is remember how quickly to stop our train. So if we're going about 90, we need at least a mile and a half to slow our train down. By the way, for anybody who wants to know, the DRA is already set to normal and the DRA is already off. There's 2 ways to open the door, honestly. We can use these things to open and close the door. This happened to be for the right side, and then this one happened to be for the left side, or you can use the one all the way over there to do the same deal. The guard buzzer we use if there was a guard in there to shut over an individual door. We really don't need those because a lot of these platforms are long, so we don't really have to worry about pressing the guard buzzer twice. Now, for the folks that might be from America watching this, you probably wonder why I didn't blow any horn to get ourselves moving out of the platform. You don't need to blow the horn for these type of network turbo missions or anything like that. It works pretty much like the subway in America, or it works pretty much like your networking routing passenger service that you might have locally wherever you are. Yeah, you may not necessarily need to blow the horn to leave the station because everybody knows you're there. Now, if there's a crosswalk, sure, but in this game there's not really any crosswalk. They managed to make sure like all the roads go above, below, whatever. If we go back to our timetable real quick and we can see what we're doing, we're stopping at Slough. We know that we're going to load passengers. Then basically we're stopping at London Paddington. So this train only has 2 stops. So our AP score is very dependent on the fact that this train only has 2 stops, and we have to get 8750. This train's starting out in a place called Hereford, and let me get rid of this real quick and put up the map. If you see the large map here, this is the full map of the Great Western Express, and if you look at this map here, this is a much more simplified, much more readable version of the Great Western Express, and Hereford happened to be all the way up there in the top corner. London Paddington have to be all the way over here, and what we're doing essentially is going from Reading to London Paddington. Now, had the developers had time to make this DLC, what I would have loved them to do is Hereford to Reading and then Reading to London Paddington and separate that as 2 separate trips, because then we can actually experience the full journey of driving around in these wonderful places. But instead we're just going back and forth between Reading and London Paddington. For some people that like driving trains like this is totally fine, but for people that want different stimulation and different things going on with their trains, this at some point starts to get kind of monotonous, because all you're doing is just driving the train from point A to point B, literally. So because we can see really clearly here, we can actually see whether or not we need to blow the horn anywhere in this station. If there's nobody there, we can certainly zoom right through it. No one's going to stop us from doing that. So it's driver discretion to blow the horn in London, or in the UK specifically. By the way, we're going in the opposite direction. I'm realizing that. So we're going to probably hit that 90 miles an hour pretty easy here. I do want to get the 90, so let me hit that 90. And a reminder why I'm doing 90, because my train can only go 90. So very important right there. Because our train can only go 90 miles an hour, unlike that HST that's driving past us, which can go 125, we're limited by the fact that our train kind of goes slow. In order to get to Slough, notice how I did a play on that word right there. So yeah, in order to get to Slough by 3:12 or 15:12, probably not going to make it on time, and this is what starts to run into the issue with driving these network turbos and running late with the turbos. This is why I say it's very important to try to just jump start out of the gate, get your train moving as fast as you can, set up whatever you need to set up on the fly if you have to, just to try to get the most amount of AP score that you can get, so when you get to the other end, you're not getting screwed. And in my case, I'm driving Train Sim World 4, which means the platinum points I gotta get is 8750. If you're driving Train Sim World 3 or 2 with a lower gold medal score, and that's okay, as long as you follow the same rough idea to do this, you're probably gonna make it. There's the West Coast Main Line, there's the West of England Line, and then there's the Great Western Main Line. The Main Line Railway in England is the one that goes from literally London Paddington to Bristol Temple Mead, and it connects to other main lines such as Reading to Pennant, I think that's how you say that, and Swindon to Swansea. The Great Western Main Line originally opened in 1841 and was the original route of the first Great Western Railway. It eventually merged into the Western region of British Railways in 1948. As of now, it is part of a national rail system that's managed by Network Rail. The line is technically electrified between London Paddington and Royal Wootton Bassett. It actually started electrification all the way to Bristol. By 2016, the UK government deferred electrification of the section through Bath from Royal Wootton Bassett to Bristol, and there's no date for completion because the cost of electrification has actually tripled. It's amazing that electrification as a way to save money is costing more money to put together. It's very interesting how that works. The line of the Great Western Express, or the Great Western Railway, was actually started as a dual track line with a broad gauge system, and I'm going to eventually come back to that at some point. So it was originally opened in different stages. I probably have to blow my horn here, as I can see there's probably a couple people there. Oh, there's nobody on there. That's good. Nobody's on the platform. Everything's good. We just zoom on through. But yeah, so the train was operated again in stages. The stages were opened between 1838 and 1841, and the final section between Chippenham and Bath was opened and completed around the Box Tunnel in June 1841. So the alignment of this rail line, oh my god, my train, I'm breaking my engine. Let's go back down, there it goes. My line, oh my god, the alignment was so level, it would name something called the Brunel Billiard Table. And if you notice, we're really only a 0.1% grade, either up or down, or just straight across. So we don't really have grading issues with this, and it's really amazing. The advantages of having a broad gauge train, you actually can have a third rail attached to it. So the dual gauge was introduced between London to Reading in October 1861, Reading to Didcot, and so on, and it went all the way up to Bristol Station. Broad gauge remained in use all the way to 1892, and you can actually find evidence of the broad gauge in many places where bridges are a bit wider than usual, or where the tracks seem to be 10 feet apart versus the usual 6. So we have to slow our train down. This is probably a good time to do it. And you can see right here, this spot here happened to be where a little bit wider than usual. The bridges here seem to be a little bit wider than usual. So it's kind of cool that you can see that in effect there. We're going to go to camera 3 because when I stop, I want to make sure I stop properly here. Where are we in timing? We are late as usual. You're never going to be early to Slough, I can tell you that. Slough to Reading, impossible. Coming up on 500 yards here, and we're trying to get myself slowed down a bit more. And I'm less worried about trying to be early because it's just impossible. And in fact, I have to load passengers by 15:13, so that was already late too. So no rush there too. We're gonna have to do throttle 3 for brakes. I keep calling it throttle because it's the same system, throttle and brakes. Nothing changes there. So welcome to Slough, folks. There's a lot of people on the road. Get off the road, folks. I'm trying to stop my train. I can't see what I'm doing because all of you guys are gonna die. Get off the road, people. Jeez, I don't know why people do this. Lady, move over. Golly, they do this all the time. Anyways, we're going to kind of coast here for the rest of it, and we should be good. Come on, coast, coast. Brake. I'm going from coasting to braking, my goodness. Yeah, what we're trying to do is get that front coupler to be like right about there. We're gonna unlock the left doors because that's where we're unlocking. That was not bad. I don't even know what I got for AP score. 458, that is not bad. It's because I'm late. I lost some AP score for that. Let's let our people out. We're just gonna have to wait on them to load up our passengers. Nothing we can do about that. If we're ever early, we can at least load the passengers, shut the door, and prepare ourselves to leave. Look at how many people are on this train. This train's so full, nobody's leaving, but they just randomly popping in and out of existence. It's so much fun. I love that. It's like we have a personal transporter for people to zoom in and out. But look at how many people come off this train. It's just insane how many people in this train. In the old days, when Great Western Express was released, there probably wouldn't be this many people on the platform. Maybe something like, you know, this many people. That would probably be it coming off the train. That's it. You are not a very happy guy, dude. You do not look happy. But yeah, look at this. Look at how many people are going up the stairs. That guy there is trying to come down the stairs with coffee and he can't do it. Oh, we got to shut the doors. Time to lock the doors and time to set ourselves out. We're going to go ahead and put ourselves to throttle 3. And prepare ourselves for launch to London Paddington. Let's go, 18 miles. Come on, train, move it. There we go. We're on a roll, folks. So believe it or not, the Great Western Railway, I'm gonna get a little confused with the Express because this is Express, right? By the time World War I broke open in 1914, the Great Western Railway was actually co-opted and taken into government control. Essentially, almost every railway in Britain was done so. All of it was to support the war effort. I mean, seriously, would you seriously tell the government and Germany that, like, hey, screw you, we're going to run a railway, we're not going to transport your soldiers or passengers or nothing, we're not going to give you supplies or nothing like that? You're not going to do that, right? You're going to support the war effort, right? You want to be part of the war effort. However, the UK government basically said, screw this, we're taking everything over, we're going to make sure everything runs on the dime, and everything's going to go perfect because we're being bombed left and right, so let's get ourselves moving. So after the war in 1921, there was something called the Railways Act. For anybody in the UK who happened to be in that age group, you might remember the Railways Act. If you haven't, then you might have learned it in school. So the four Great Western Railway was one of the four. London, Midland, and Scottish Railway was the second one. London and North Eastern Railway was third. And then the Southern Railway was the fourth. And so all of these essentially grouped together, and that all came into effect by 1923. And by 1948, all of these companies essentially were nationalized to form the British Railways as part of the Transport Act of 1947. Get off the road, people. Look at that. That guy's just being brave. My goodness. But yeah, so the three large companies essentially relied on freight as well as long-distance passenger traffic, whereas the Southern Railway was predominantly a passenger railway system. Despite the small size of the Southern Railway actually carried more than a quarter of the total UK passenger traffic. The Great Western Railway was the only company that managed to retain its pre-grouping identity, which it duly imposed on all of the companies it eventually absorbed, and so basically all the companies over time had the same logo, Great Western Railway. The Great Western Railway was the only company to maintain that pre-grouping identity, which it actually imposed on the companies that merged. However, the other three companies found that the former influences of the groupings actually maintained itself, so to speak. So for the Southern Railway, for example, the management remained decentralized, respecting the three distinct bundles of routes that were inherited from its various constituents. The LMS Railway, that one struggled to reconcile the different types of traditions that were associated, right, especially in the context of locomotive engineering, and it was only able to resolve that situation in 1932 with the appointment of Sir William Stanier from the Great Western Railway as chief mechanical engineer. The liner, I'm going to call it liner, the LNER Railway, that one never actually made a profit. This was actually accounted for because it had inherited a huge amount of debt, and that occurred because of the Great Central Railway, because of the building from its extension all the way to London. So nominally in competition, the four companies ended up working together on quite a few projects of significance in the railway industry, at least for the UK, keep that in mind. So during World War II, the railway company's management ended up being united, effectively becoming one company under the direction of the Railway Executive Committee. The railways were hired by the government from January 1st of 1941 to continue for 1 year after the end of the war, and in return, they ended up getting a fixed annual rent of $43 million, and that was divided amongst the companies with a special formula, so to speak. And what's really interesting, this is something you don't really see a lot in America. These companies ended up operating a number of lines jointly. not just individually. So you might have me, the Great Western Express right here, riding along my network turbo, but then you might also have like the Southern Railway also on a line with me, and we're both sharing the same line together, which is very interesting. You rarely see that in America. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. My train is speeding again. My goodness, stop going past 90. Oh my god, did you see that guy jump out of the way? Good job. You knew my train was going way too fast. Believe it or not, the number of jointly operated lines was actually reduced by the grouping itself, but a lot of them survived. For example, the Cheshire Line Committee, the Fort Bridge Railway Company, the Midland and Great Northern Joint Railway, the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway. I expect to see that one day. The Midland and Great Northern Joint Railway, the MNGN, that one actually had 180 track miles. That eventually got incorporated into the LNER, or the liner. So believe it or not, the LMS was responsible for its own locomotives and the southern section for the infrastructure. However, the S&D, or the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway, had its own locomotives, but these were eventually absorbed into the LMS stock in 1930, and simplification of the railway map eventually was not achieved until nationalization. We're coming up on London Paddington at about 4.8 miles. Hopefully I don't accidentally get so distracted I completely miss it and blow through it and crash. That would be the worst thing, but I'm sure you guys will be happy. The big four railway companies, they inherited a network and developed a network of feeder bus services, and after 1928 began to acquire mostly shareholdings in local bus companies such as the Bristol Tramways and Carriage Company. The railway involvement in those bus operations was transformed during the period of 1928 to 1930. The company's legal powers to run bus services were not very clear. This eventually led to companies to enter partnership with the bus companies such as the British Electric Traction, Scottish Motor Traction, Thomas Tilling, and the National Omnibus and Transportation Company. Eventually, the railways relinquished the majority stake they had already acquired, but bought minority shareholdings in other companies in that combined group. But eventually there was investment in 33 bus and coach companies. Hard to believe, right? So even though there was considered local monopoly, so in America this wouldn't happen, you wouldn't have local monopoly. As soon as you hit a monopoly, it's a done deal, right? It's a done deal. We like triopolies, where you have three companies, at least three companies running things. But in this case, there's essentially local monopolies of railway services, and what they did, they had agreements that were bilateral, but where penetrating lines were common, where they interpenetrated with each other. What you'd end up with is two railway companies with minority shareholding. So for example, Devon General and Thames Valley Traction, both part of the GWR and the SR, in other words, the Southern Railway and the Great Western Express Railway. Oh my god, we are like ridiculous. I missed my speed limit. Jesus, man, I'm going to slow down, emergency brake this one. What in the world did I do? I knew I would do this. I knew it, and you all knew it with me. Okay, we're okay. We're okay. We're about to hit the turn. We're okay. Everything's okay. Woo! That was a quickie one right there. Yikes, we're going to be stopping right now. So what I was trying to get there is those two trains there were essentially creating agreements to prevent monopolies from actually happening. So that's something that's key here that these guys did that's a little bit different. In America, you would probably end up with a company that has a full-on monopoly over everything. Yeah, so with us stopping here in London Paddington, we're going to be calling it pretty soon. And just to let you know, the areas served by those four big companies originally formed the basis of the British Railway, and so the Great Western Railway became eventually the Western region, which is what we're driving now. I gotta stop this train a little bit more. Come on, come on, come on. Ah, I got it. Okay, thank goodness. You can already tell I'm over my AP score. My AP score, by the way, was to get 8750, so I'm good there. So I don't have to worry about that. I can overspeed a little bit. I can suffer. I can suffer a little bit as long as I don't crash at the end. We're gonna go down to 25 here just to play it safe here. But yeah, so the English and Welsh parts of the LMS became the London Midland region. The northeastern area of liner became northeastern region. The remainder of English part of liner became essentially the southern area became the eastern region. The Southern Railway of the SR became the southern region. The LMS and the liner in Scotland were united as the Scottish region. Then you had the LMS Northern Counties Committee in Northern Ireland was transferred to the newly created Ulster Transport Authority. Northern Ireland Railway Network has remained separate from Great Britain ever since that's happened. The regions whose powers were greatly enhanced during the 1950s eventually ceased to be operational units following sectorization during the 1980s, were finally abolished in the run-up to privatization in 1992. And this is essentially some of the start of British Rail. There's more to it. There's actually even more history that's older than this. I do want to share those with you when I get a chance. I've got those saved up. I'll come back at those later. As long as I don't crash my train or miss stops or whatever, I'm going to try to share it as best I can. We actually might make it. This is pretty cool. Because we got to get 25 miles an hour, but we got to stop like in 300 yards. So I think we're going to make it. We're just going to make over time, just barely. So I think we got this. Let's go to camera 3 real quick and kind of get ourselves out here to make sure that we can stop okay. Because I'm a little worried that we're going to miss our stop because the stop isn't that far off. Welcome to London Paddington, folks. Sorry, folks, for the crazy ride. I'm sure you guys bumped your head. All right. Whoa, what the heck? I didn't want to do that. I bumped something there. But yeah, so I like to make sure that my train can line up okay with these markers here, and I need to put on throttle 3. I'm going a little too fast here. I was trying to get there a little bit quicker, but that didn't work out the way I was thinking. Go a little faster, buddy. Okay, maybe I'll just coast along. I think I'll just let it coast along. It'll be all right. I think I can coast along. Everything will be okay. So what I don't want to do when you hit London Paddington, the worst thing you can do, honestly, is accidentally screw yourself and bump against the little bumpers there at the very end. So you want to make sure you can kind of coast your train to a final stop right about here. I love this wasteback kid. That is awesome looking. And just try to stop, ideally with the coupler hitting the little target, maybe a little bit over that. That's actually pretty good. We are stopped about a minute late. That is not bad at all, folks. Not bad at all. All right, we did it. Yay. Unload postures. This is the right side, so let's go ahead and unlock those doors. We're to load and unload. And actually, since we are here, we're going to go back inside the engine. We are going to flip the DRA on just to make sure we don't do anything dumb. So we know this train's going to go in reverse. So from here, what we're going to do is we're essentially going to turn the brakes off. We're going to turn the reverser off. We're going to turn the master key off. That actually turned the DRA off anyways, but we're going to turn that back off anyhow. We're going to turn off the cab lights. For now, we're going to turn the train lighting to off. There it is. And we're going to turn our TPWS ISS off. We're going to turn the DSD off. We're also going to turn the AWS off, wherever that button is. Come on, button. There it is. We're going to turn that back off as well. And there's nothing to do besides loading passengers and shutting the door. And then also the headlight markers. We're going to turn that back off. I think I can do this while I've got this off. I might have to turn the master key back on. We're going to find out in just a second. But as usual, folks, if you've been enjoying this, if you enjoyed some of the history of British Rail, feel free to let me know. And I'd love to hear from you. I think I could do this. I think it's locking the door. We'll see. We're going to turn the cab light off. Oops, it was already off. Is it work? Oh, there it goes. It worked. Okay, I was like, what the heck? Is it working? So very good. So like I said, if you like, subscribe, leave me a comment, and definitely let me know what you think about British Rail. I'm speeding minus 130. That isn't bad. Otherwise, I did pretty well. I got a pretty high AP score of 10,601. I was supposed to get 8,700. I am awesome. This is great. I got lucky. So yeah, this is essentially the way you would get platinum score as best you can. So don't dilly-dally and chilly-chally if you've ever heard that term before. Don't do that in the very beginning. Try to get to Slough as best as possible. And then that, by the way, is right about here. And then you pretty much got it made for the rest of the mission if you can at least get to Slough as early as you can. And from there, you've got it made. So with this, Chapter 1 of Journey Mode of the Great Western Railway is done. We're going to go on to Chapter 2. And I believe Chapter 2 is all about HSTs. So I'm looking forward to driving those pretty soon. And as usual, like, subscribe, and we will talk to you in the next one. And thanks for watching, everybody. Bye. Stop at location, wherever the heck that location is. I believe, well, we have 800 yards to go, so I'm just going to go ahead and just turn this down a little bit to go under 10, and that should be enough there. What do you want me to do? What are you asking me to do? Full service? Well, it's asking me to do something with this,